Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Okay, yes, it's been a minute. Yes, I'm late to covering the show. We'll get to all that at the end of this video. Anyway, so Netflix has recently released the first season of their live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It stirred up some feelings on the internet, with some people calling it complete garbage and others defending it with their life. But, ignore everyone else. What do I think? Because obviously, my opinion matters more than everyone else's. I'm joking, obviously. Alright, now I'll be honest, I was worried about the show because from the moment it was announced, it felt like a cash grab. But after watching the show, my feelings are honestly mixed. There are some things I really liked, and other things I really hated, so let's talk about it. And no, I did not rewatch the original show's first season in preparation for this video, so oh well. If you're looking for an in-depth analysis comparing and contrasting the original and the live action, you're in the wrong place. But if you like this video, then please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel as I make videos on anything that interests me, but especially books and shows. Thank you. Now, I'm not going to go through each and every single episode and say what happens beat for beat and scene to scene. It's an adaptation of the first season of the original animated show, and I'm assuming you've already seen both the animated and live action shows, so you already know what happens. And if you haven't seen them, sorry, bestie. But because of that, you're gonna get a brief description of the episodes before we get into my opinions on the show. Okay, that's what happens this season. Like I said, it's basically just a rundown of, the original show's first season. Nothing really new, nothing really added, except for like stuff with Azula and stuff. You know what the show is about, you know generally what happens, so let's not waste any more time and just start talking about what I thought of it. Overall, I honestly had a decently fun time and will be tuning in for seasons 2 and 3, but there were quite a few things that made me go like, why though? Just why did we do that? Now, let's just say this about the show overall right now up front. It's not as good as the original. We all know that. We didn't expect it to be. Okay? It's not as good as the original. But, this show is okay, and it does stand fine as its own thing, in my opinion at least. Especially for 8 episodes, the show does accomplish what it sets out to do and combine things in a way that didn't feel too clunky. Let's start out positively. First of all, I like the acting. The acting is really, really good. I really do like everyone. I'll be honest, Zuko's actor kind of had to grow on me a bit because I found him whiny initially, but yeah, he just kind of had to grow on me, but by the end of the season, I did like him. I still don't like Sokka's actor as a person because he's shady, but he was okay. I didn't really vibe with his performance, I'll be quite honest. It was good, it was nice, it felt very Sokka-ish, so that was good, but I also kept feeling like the guy who played Sokka was more focused on kinda just doing an imitation of the original show and not really doing his own spin on it. But he was okay. And everyone else from the kid who played Aang, Katara, the girl who played Azula, and Iroh's actor, I really loved them. They were all so very good. Really, really loved it. Next thing I love, the costumes. The costumes are really, really good. They are so nice to look at, which is honestly very impressive in itself because they are direct replicas from the outfits from the show, which normally, at least in my experience watching stuff, when animated outfits are directly copied and pasted into live action, they usually look kind of goofy and silly, but in this case, not really. Honestly, not really. They actually looked really, really good, so that was very nice, and I really, really loved that, so props to the costume department. And especially the masks of the Fire Nation soldiers. Those masks are so freaking cool. I want one. If they made merch of the Fire Nation soldier mask, I would buy one because they look so cool. And so was the blue mask that Zuko wears. It was the mask. I just love the mask. Okay, I really, really do. Third thing I loved, the locations. They were so very pretty. I don't care. I don't care if they were mostly CGI. The locations were very pretty to look at. I said it. Yes, they were. They were. The CGI department did the damn thing with them. And also, let me just mention this real quick. The bending. Some people don't like it. I personally don't mind it. I heard the directors just let the kids make up the moves themselves. And yeah, you can definitely tell that's the case. You can definitely tell that's the case. But again, I don't think the bending looks horrible in this show. I can actually see kids watching this show and having fun recreating the bending moves that they see on screen. Like, it looks fun. It looks fun. So I don't mind it. I also really liked seeing what Azula and Ozai were up to during the events of Season 1. From an adaptation standpoint, I do question Ozai's characterization, because in the original, it always felt like he gassed up Azula at every chance and always put down Zuko at every chance he could. But then again, all of that is told from Z's POV and not really A's POV, whereas here we do get Azula's POV of what her dad is like. Whereas in this show, Ozai just seems cruel to Azula in the exact same demeaning, shaming way that he is to Zuko, which I found to be an odd change. But just taking the show as is, not comparing it to the original, I'm gonna be making that point throughout this video, by the way. I thought Ozai was okay and served the evil grand villain role pretty well, honestly. Like, I liked him. I honestly do. I've heard bad things about his actor, so fuck the actor. But, like, the character, I kind of liked him in here. I did. And same goes for Azula. I'm curious to see what they'll do with her coming up. That's my positives. And you see the runtime of this video. So let's get talking about what didn't really work for me. Now, spoiler alert, pretty much everything that didn't really work is just mainly due to the writing of the show. But let's talk about it. First of all, I don't understand why we took out Sokka unlearning sexism and why the people behind the show made a big deal out of removing the sexism, just to ultimately have it in the North. And also, like, Sokka and Jet still acted sexist toward Katara anyway, so like, what was the point of making a big deal before the show's release of like, we are removing the sexism, we're doing away with that, we're modernizing the show, blah 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 blah. Because it's like, you still have the brother being sexist towards her, so, at least in my opinion. Like, to me, Sokka was still a sexist asshole to Katara throughout the, like, entire season, honestly, through, like, putting her down all the time and discrediting what she thinks and says all the time, like, in the first episode, when they're in Omashu, just all the time, honestly. And I think that is interesting considering, once again, you know, how much the people behind the show were very adamant that they wanted to remove all the sexism, you know, despite it actually serving a purpose in the original show, showing it that it's not okay and is something that needs to be unlearned. So, either A, the people behind the show lied when they said that they were going to be removing the sexism, or B, it just goes to show how deeply rooted misogyny is in our society, that even when a group of people go in with the intention of removing it, it still seeps its way in there. So yeah, moving right along, but still speaking about the sexism within the show, the stuff that happened in the North pissed me off. Cause what do you mean when the old dude told Katara that women can't fight, Aang was low-key agreeing with him? What do you mean Aang told Katara that she should sit this one out and just be safe? Excuse me? And then to make it even worse, you had Sokka be the one to tell her, like, fuck the patriarchy and kick the old master's ass? Like, huh? Huh? Did the names in the script get, for, you know, who says what, did the names get switched? Because, like, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, yeah, they throw in reasons for why the characters act this way, or at least they try to have reasons of, like, you know, giving Aang visions of, like, ooh, everyone you love around you is going to die and whatever. And, you know, oh, the Avatar has to figure things out. The Avatar can't have loved ones and whatever. You know, you gotta figure it out on your own, bitch. Like, okay, you threw in some reasons, or, you know, you try to throw in some reasons for why the characters act this way. I get it. But on this particular point, I do not care about not comparing this show to the original and just taking it as is, because this was just so freaking stupid to me. And every single time I think about the scene with Aang, of all people, basically telling Katara to, like, get back into the kitchen, I get mad, because he would never freaking say that. That is something that he would never freaking do. That is something that he would never freaking say. He would never encourage her to just like, yeah, just be safe, girly. Yeah, you should listen to him. Yeah, you know, you and the rest of the girls really shouldn't fight, blah, 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 blah. No, he would never fucking say that. He would 100% tell her to like, okay, fuck that old man. You know, get your ass on the front lines with me. Like, we're gonna do the damn thing. I don't know, that whole thing just made me mad. It pissed me off. It really, really did. Moving right along, speaking of Katara, she felt different here, and it made her characterization odd. Like, it felt like the way they wrote her leaned into the nice, supportive friend, quote-unquote mother of the group aspect of her a lot more, and like, they kind of watered down the sarcastic, petty, mouthy, bitchy aspect of her that is like so iconic and loved. Which is very, very odd considering they also wanted her to lean even more into being like combative with bending and like, you know, wanting to be like a strong fighter and all this stuff. And wanted to have her lean farther and farther away from being like, you know, the supportive healer of the group. The magic water at the end she carries around isn't even mentioned to be special healing water. It's just said to be like an invite back north. Like, it just felt weird. It's okay for her to be both an attacker and a healer. And it's okay for her to be nice and sarcastic. She can be both. It's okay. Let her be both. With that being said, just taking the show as it is, she was okay. She was kind of dull, honestly. But, like, honestly, so was everyone in the show except for Aang, so I can't really hold that against her specifically. Yeah, I mean, just taking the show as is, the way she's written is not terrible. Like, you know, she serves the purpose of being the nice one of the group. So, okay, you know, she was okay. Anyway, next point. Girl, we didn't learn waterbending. How is this the season about waterbending? And we didn't learn waterbending. Make it make sense. Aang never got one lesson. Not one freaking lesson in the North at all. And Katara just somehow taught herself to become a master with one scroll and experimentation. Like, what? I'm sorry. They show up north being like, hey, we need to learn waterbending. And everyone up north is like, okay, you're the Avatar, and some kid from down south, figure it out, bitch. Like, what? Like halfway through the 7th episode, people just randomly start calling Katara Master and like Master Waterbender and all this shit, and it's like, girl, she's never had one day of training in her life. And then as far as Aang goes, they literally get up north and are like, hey, we're here for the sole purpose of teaching the Avatar how to waterbend. He doesn't know the first thing about waterbending. And then the old master and his group of people are like, oh, well, can you waterbend? We need you to waterbend for our army. You can master you have all 4 elements, just use them. When he's like, I literally don't know how. Like, I just know how to airbend. Like, that's why I came here. The old master and his goonies are like, oh, so I guess you're not useful at all. Like, I guess we're just doomed. I guess you're just not useful at all, you stupid bitch. And it's like, what? What? You, that's why we came here! Teach him! Are you kidding me? Oh my god! I can't. I can't. Let's move on, because it just annoyed me. Next point. I did not like how with the removal of Sokka's unlearning sexism arc, they also had like to change the stuff that happened on Kyoshi Island between him and Suki. And so now Suki's initial thing is her at the end of that episode being like, oh my god, thank you so much, hunky boy, for showing me more of the world. You are broadening my view of the world. Thank you so much. Oh my god. Like, I hated that. And here's the thing, even removing the context that this is an adaptation and just taking the show as is, it still felt like he should have been the one thanking her for broadening his view of the world and giving him more pointers at, like, being a warrior and shit. Not the other way around. I don't understand why they had her thanking him for anything and not have him thank her for everything. It made no sense to me. I didn't like it. Let's move on. Y'all, was the dad of the wheelchair kid in Omashu originally a spy for the Fire Nation? Or was that a change that they made for the show? Because I don't remember that being a thing in the original, but maybe I'm just misremembering? Like, I don't know. But it felt odd to have, like, the inventor dad be, like, a spy for the Fire Nation here. Because it's like, what are you getting out of this? You're selling secrets of Omashu to the Fire Nation and selling them war plan, weapon designs, and all this shit. But it's like, what are you getting out of this? Because it's clearly not money, because the house that you and your son are in is small and cramped, and it's clearly not special privileges or protections in Omashu, because you're cowering in fear still for your family's safety 24/7. So, like, bro, what are you getting out of this arrangement? Like, I don't understand. That made no sense to me. Anyway, speaking of Omashu, the narrative framing around Jet was something. Okay, I don't really like what they did to Jet, both as an adaptation and as his own new character. Now, as an adapted character, I didn't like how they cut out nuance to his character of being a rebel that fights the good fight, but in very extreme, radical ways that don't always justify the end goal. Like, yeah, flooding a village of innocent people to take out some, soldiers, that's probably not a good thing, dear. We shouldn't do that. And I also didn't like how instead of him being like a charming and charismatic leader, and that's how he's able to initially win over Katara, they instead just made him a Wattpad edgy boyfriend in this version. Ugh. Now, just judging within the context of this show itself, I also didn't like what they did with him. Okay, so if you don't know, in this version of the show, they put Jet and his crew in the city of Omashu and then changed Bumi's personality to have him be a wicked king, basically. Yeah, Bumi in this version is basically just a tyrant king. You can't frame the king as being unjust and corrupt, and then frame the guy and his team trying to kill him as just a bunch of terrorists. I'm sorry, you can't. That makes no sense. Actually, honestly, Jet in this version looks even more in the right, because his plan doesn't involve killing a bunch of civilians just to wipe out some enemy forces. His plan here literally just involves taking out a corrupt leader and his corrupt colleagues with no regular people getting hurt. To have that, and then to frame him as just a straight up terrorist that is endangering people, make it make sense. Make it make sense. It didn't make sense. It really, really didn't make sense. Yeah, let's move on. Zhao's ambition to become emperor. No, it felt like it came out of nowhere. Again, I haven't rewatched the original in a while, but I swear to God, I do not remember that being in the animated one, and I tried to look it up to see if I was wrong, and I could not find it. But ignoring that and taking the show as is, it felt bizarre when that happened. Just the whole scene of Zhao maniacally rambling about becoming the next Fire Lord all of a sudden, and the Avatar now being irrelevant because it would only be able to bend 3 elements instead of 4. Hey bitch, that's still 2 more than you can, like, okay. It just felt so strange and out of character for him. Like, yeah, Zhao is shown to be ambitious and wanting to move up the ladder in the military, but there is a huge difference between wanting more power and prestige in the army you serve and being so ambitious that you become a traitor that wants to stage a coup all of a sudden. That whole thing, it was bad. It did not work. I did not like it. It was dumb, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. So yeah. And we have Katara and Sokka in the Badger Mole tunnels from season 2 for some reason. You know, the tunnels that, like, were heavily focused on, like, love and, like, you know, romance and that kind of stuff. We have the siblings going through that tunnel. I don't know why. Granted, they changed the meaning to be like sibling love in this case, but, like, it still felt weird. Anyway, so that's the main points that I wanted to address as far as writing goes. And overall, I just felt that the writing just got worse as the season went on. Like in the first half, it felt okay for the most part, but then in the second half, I kept getting this growing sense of something's off. We're starting to go off the rails a bit. Especially in the North Pole episodes, those two episodes gave me the feeling of like, we want the same things to happen that did in the original, but we also want to change things, and we've also already changed a few things in the build up to this finale, and now we're kind of stuck and just pushing through with no idea how we got here or how to fix it, so let's just get to the end somehow. Ooh. And that's the biggest thing with the show. It's just the writing. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, like a lot of people are making it out to be, but there's just something off with the writing. Like I said, taking the show as is, it's fine and enjoyable, at least for the most part, and I will gladly tune in for the rest of the series, because I am genuinely interested, and there is quite a few things to really, really like about the show. But also viewing it as an adaptation or a reimagining, the scripts have that air of the writers being like, ooh, this is so iconic and beloved from the show. We can't leave this thing out. We can't leave that thing out. We have to put this and that and everything in. We have to put it all in. Somehow, someway, we have to put everything in. While also wanting to change things, either for the sake of modernizing or making it more dark and mature, or just, episode count and runtime. And honestly, when you try to keep everything in while changing how and why we have everything to begin with, it makes it feel messy and like it's just being written for the sake of money, because, this show will be popular for one reason or another. And like, it felt like they were trying to appease fan expectations so people won't be mad about like X or Y not being here, without fully considering the actual story quality first and foremost. Especially with something like Avatar: The Last Airbender that is so often viewed as a masterfully crafted series, especially in its writing, it's so easy to mess up an adaptation, which, okay, going off topic for just a second, that is one of the main reasons why I think any attempt to adapt or continue the story of Avatar through the 2010 movie, the books, the comics, Korra, now this show, elicits such strong negative reactions from the people who don't like those things. Because when you start out with something so highly praised as Avatar: The Last Airbender, anything less than perfection in this franchise is automatically viewed as a failure. Well, that and also just nostalgia. Like, there's always going to be some people who fondly remember the original from childhood and are now mad that other things from that franchise for kids don't give their 26-year-old self the same feeling that it did their 6-year-old self. I mean, just look at the 30-year-olds who grew up with the Star Wars prequels that now get mad about everything new from that franchise. Like, nostalgia is going to play a role in why people hate the new stuff. Let's just be honest. But don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, don't get it incorrect. That is not to say that all other pieces of media from this franchise are on the same tier of quality. Like, they're not, okay? The 2010 movie, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about it. This show, it's okay, even if it has flaws, The books and the comics, I've heard those are really, really good. And as for Korra, I personally really love it. I really, really do. In some ways, even more than the OG show. I really, really do. I love Korra, honestly. Anyway, getting back to the main point, this show. The scripts for this live-action reboot just felt like the show was created simply because it will draw in viewers and make money, and not because there was any actual reasons to make a new live-action version of the story. But having said all of that, this show does have a lot going for it. The costumes look fantastic, the CGI locations are beautiful, the acting from pretty much everyone is so good, especially that kid who plays Aang. Like, that is literally Aang on my screen, straight from the cartoon. Like, that little boy is so freaking good at playing this role. They need to let him, be Aang, the cheerful kid version of Aang, instead of oh, I'm serious, I need to be the Avatar kind of Aang. They need to let him just be the fun, free-spirited Aang, because he is so freaking good in this role. But the costumes, the locations, the acting, it's all so good. It really, really is. But the writing of this show is just not there as of right now. Ultimately, everything else is really, really good, but the writing just drags the show down. It feels too focused on being a fanfic adaptation than actually becoming its own thing. Viewing the writing as an adaptation of the original show, it leaves me with a feeling of, well, you threw everything in there, and I guess you got to the end goal, but it doesn't feel that good, it doesn't really feel that good. And viewing the writing as its own story leaves me with that feeling of, something's not right here. It really, really isn't, but I can't exactly say what it is. Ugh. But I do think the writing can get better when the writers aren't so focused on just adapting events from the original, when they actually, come up with scenes we didn't see in the cartoon. It's actually decent and nice to watch. Like, the stuff from the Air Temple in the first episode, that was good. I enjoyed watching what Aang's life was like before everything happened. I enjoyed watching the invasion of the Fire Nation. It worked. It was good. I really, really enjoyed all that stuff. Or the stuff with Azula and her working with Zhao to plot her brother's downfall even more. I like that stuff. It was interesting and felt like something that Azula would really do. To kick someone when they're not only already down, but are buried beneath the dirt. Like, it really felt good. It felt like something Azula would really, really do. I don't know if the writers just need the courage to deviate from the original show coming up, or if they just need to be allowed the creative freedom to do so, but if they're able to just do a very loose adaptation and instead take alternate paths as to how we get to the end goals in the future, instead of, trying to do a very strict one-to-one kinda adaptation, if they're allowed to just okay, here's the start point, here's the end point, we're going to do completely different things as to how we get from A to Z. If they're allowed and able to do that, I really do think that this could be really, really good. I do think that the writing could really improve. It's just that for right now, at least, it feels like they're just too focused on adapting the story directly from the original, but just wanting to change a few minor things here and there, which ultimately causes it all to come crashing down. But with all of that being said, those are my thoughts on the live-action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Some good things, some bad things, but I will be watching the next 2 seasons that got announced whenever they come out. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos from me. Tell me in the comments your thoughts on the live-action Avatar show. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know. Now then, let's talk about a mini life update. Yes, I put it at the end here because I know no one cares, but I still want to talk about it. Okay, my video plans have gotten thrown out the window for the past month or so, because my laptop literally broke and would not turn on whatsoever until now, which is why I haven't uploaded in a bit, and why this video is coming out later than I thought. Thankfully, my laptop is working again, at least for now, and nothing was lost on it, so I can pick up right back up where I left off on some projects, which thank God, because one video that I'm working on, it's a lot of work. It is, and I did not want to lose all that progress. But honestly, I'm gonna be honest, maybe it was for the best that I couldn't stress myself out trying to make videos, because I recently got a job, which I want to keep, and I'm currently in a play which has been running late into the night with rehearsals and shows. Girl, I have not been getting out until 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I've just been left exhausted for a lot of nights this month. But it's been very enjoyable so far. I really do love the show. I love the cast. I love doing the show. But yeah, that's what's been going on as far as this channel is concerned, but hopefully I don't have any more technical errors and can get back to working on everything that I want to work on. And also with, the show that I'm in coming to a close soon, I'll have some more time to work on videos. But yeah. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.